Welcome to the Effortless Swimming Podcast. My guest today is someone who people may not recognize by a voice or even face, but they would 100% recognize you by a stroke. Dan Smith, welcome to the podcast again.
Thank you for having me. That's a nice statement. So yeah, thank you for having me.
I'm referring to the video that we posted a couple of years ago, and I just checked on YouTube how many views it's had. It's just cracked 1 million views, where it was you swimming at a 110 pace that looks like 2 minute pace, and it's the video which I've got the most comments on by just people out and about, people I meet at the pool, and it's a fantastic video, and I think the reason it's resonated with a lot of people is it just looks so effortless. It looks so good. So I thank you for first of all let me post that and film it because I've got a real kick out of seeing how much of a kick everyone else has got out of it.
Yeah, I think hopefully it gives people a lot of hope of like how far you can really take your swimming ability. Talent can always be developed, and that's why like it's great to have programs and things like that to learn from people who have been where you want to go. And your brand says it all, effortless swimming. And I was just really thankful when we crossed paths. I was actually in need of a person to help me with video and help me improve with my stroke, and that's what we did. I didn't really know that it was going to turn into being able to help a lot of people on YouTube and that kind of stuff. So it's really cool to see how the YouTube videos developed, and that's just the power of the online world, isn't it?
Yeah, it's that's exactly right. And I remember, looking at the video, and then I looked at the time that you swam that 100 in. It's like, oh my god, that was so fast. And I thought, okay, this would be a nice headline for it. I think this will go well. And then it just started to take off, and it's been really cool to see that. And I've had you on the podcast before, and this was actually before Tokyo 2020 was postponed. This is when you were training for it. So I'd like to just quickly catch up on, I guess, what happened when it did get postponed, and what happened from there.
Yeah, so as your viewers know, and as a lot of people know, like a lot goes into a high performance career. And for me, like I was coming to the older ages of my career. Like I'm now 30, so at that time I was 28. And for me, like I was probably running on an oily rag with regards to my motivation. We're going through massive technical changes, which is super straining on your mind and your focus. And so for me, leading into the Olympic trials, like I was swimming pretty well in training. I think as you get older, instead of being able to do maybe 8 to 9 world class sessions a week, I was probably getting about three. So that was quite hard mentally as well. So when I led into the trials, like I was about 2 months out, and I was training in a bit smaller pool with Paul Jones, who that's what you met as well, Brenton. And we like one of my friends at the time mentioned, he said to me, he said, "Oh, like he couldn't travel overseas." And I was like, "What do you mean? I don't watch the news. I wasn't really on social media much. I was pretty dedicated to my career." And I was like, "What do you mean you can't travel overseas?" He's like, "Oh, have you heard of COVID?" And I was like, "No." Like, and he started explaining to me what it is. And then within 3 days later, the NBA was cancelled. The pools were shut, schools were shut. So for me, like that part of I was literally doing 1650s max on 130, getting race pace ready 2 days before we were exited from the pool. So for me, like I was gearing, I was very fit, swimming quite well. Like I said, about 3 world class sessions a week. And then for me, when that was over, I was holding on by a thread with the hope to make the next Olympic Games. So when COVID hit and then I was out of the pool, I just realized I don't probably have the mental strength and the drive anymore to do another reset and another re-preparation. So for me, I sat down with my family, my friends, and I made the decision to give the sport away. And I'll actually tell you a funny story. There was this article that went out, and it was like the winners of COVID and the losers of COVID. And I was in the losers side, so like it was pretty brutal, but that was the reality. And then it was good to see a lot of other people really advance forward from some rest and stuff in sport.
As in, that was like an article that got published, and it had your
Yes,
name
an
in under
article
the
that got
losers.
published. Yeah, wasn't good for a retired athlete at that time, but that's just the reality of it.
And looking back now, a year and a half from, I guess, when you had to make that decision, are you glad you made that decision?
Oh, I think it's human nature to hold on for too long. I think like you always want to do more, and it would always be nice to finish your career or what you do on a high. But for me, the reality of that wasn't my reality for sport. So for me, it was a really good decision to be able to give it away. And I think you're always going to live with the could have, should haves, or would haves in your mind. But I think for me, like there wasn't a strong enough reason to go back to sport, to high performance sport. And for me, it was a little bit bittersweet for a while, but now being 2 years, it's been over 2 years now, to crazy thing, since I've been in the water. You know, it's my life's changing a lot and my life is settling a lot, and I'm starting to be a lot more happy in my own skin away from sport.
And the project or the business that you have just recently started is worldwide speaking. And I was having a look at some of the stuff that you're doing there, and it's a lot around education for parents and athletes, and making sure that they're doing the right things on their journey to hopefully become elite level swimmers or elite level competitors in different sports. And I think you're probably, one of the people who is best versed in that, with your history growing up as a swimmer. And is that, how did all of this come about? Like, what was the motivation or the drive to do something in the area?
Yeah, I think for those of you like who don't know, but for me growing up, like when I was 13 years old, like I was literally destined to be the next greatest swimmer coming through. So that was over 17 years ago. I broke Ian Thorpe's Australian 200-meter freestyle record. I won 6 gold, 2 silver. I was training with Grant Hackett. So for me, I knew what it took. So like training with people like that, I knew what it took to be the fastest man in the world, and that was my dream. At 14, I won 8 gold, 2 silver. But what I didn't realize is like my family and I, and even the people around me at that time, like we went through sport aimlessly. We didn't have a proven sporting strategy that actually helps athletes and families withstand the pressure of sport. And so for me, when I got a little bit older, that's when my strategy, or the life that I was living, the strategy that we were pursuing, failed me. And I developed. We see it all over the news: athletes falling from the highs of sport. And for me, like only not even 1% of people make it into the elite. So there's these 99% range that are trying to bridge the gap between where they are and into the elite. And for me, I didn't realize that like there was so much more to my life than swimming. Everything was based around my whole identity and purpose was based around swimming. And so for me, I didn't know who I was without it. And even if you look at the mental health stats, back to what I was saying before, like 1 in 3 athletes battle a mental health condition. So that's drug and alcohol abuse, eating disorders, shaming, burnout, anger issues, never feeling good enough. And so for me, when I retired, I thought, well, what am I going to do with my life now? And for me, I was able to put my mind together with now my wife. I've been married in the last year, which is an exciting part, and we're able to put our minds together and work out, well, what is something I can do. And so I've got 20 years experience in high performance sport, and so I thought about it, like what are all the lessons, everything that I've learned. And so we put together a program for parents and up and coming athletes, that realistically helps parents and athletes not unintentionally ruin their careers. And for me, that's what we've been doing. That's who we've been helping parents with. And we've been seeing some really amazing results with our program.
What are some of those things that you do see on a fairly regular basis that are harming the relationship or the potential of the athlete?
I think like parents can put a lot of pressure unintentionally on their athlete, and I think the problem with that is like a most common thing we see with parents is like parents don't have enough time to add in another program. Like there's so much to a parent's life. You've got the training regime, the extracurriculum at school, the everything that goes into a sporting career. So to add something else like what we are into it, but what they don't realize is it's the sporting strategy that they are using that actually frees up their time. And so a lot of parents are going through the sporting career like unintentionally not having a strong proven sporting strategy that we as athletes have used. And so I think parents are getting caught up in the sporting world and not having a really strong proven strategy that we provide.
And what do you mean by strategy? Is in like how the time management strategy, or is it like communication strategy? What sort of things are you talking about?
Yeah, so we have like our own Olympic rules and stuff that parents can live by. So on a day-to-day basis, we also have like how a parent can actually avoid the most common sporting mistakes. We've got over 50 plus training videos inside of our program that literally cover everything, like how we as Olympians have found the best coach that supports their athlete and sets them up to be a happy athlete and a thriving athlete. And we've got over 50 plus training videos. We've got over 3 courses for the parent and also the athlete, and you can go through that together. But on the other side of that, like, it's not just me involved. Like, we've got Taylor McEwen, Kaylee McEwen, we've got Brendan Smith, and then we've got other national athletes, and we also have our nutritionist, and she really helps parents as well get on top of the nutrition side of sport as well.
Yeah, fantastic. I saw that. I saw Kaylee had a couple of videos in there, and those that are listening, if you are from overseas, you may not know those swimmers, but they're some of Australia's best Olympic swimmers at the moment. Um, and what sort of age group are you sort of looking to work
Yeah,
with
so
the
we are
swimmers?
actually currently dealing with a multi dimension of sports. So we've got Taekwondo with us at the moment. We've got swimming, we've got cycling, and the age groups from around 10, starting at around 10, and then also the age group of about 18 as well. Like that's one of our older athletes at the moment who's trying to break into elite cycling. So the purpose of the program is it's multi-dimensional, and we actually help the parent and the athlete build their sporting strategy that's tailored to them. We've got exclusive access to a private Facebook group, so that means at any point in a parent's career, if they have any questions, any problems, or anything that they have issues with, we as Olympians are there to help and support them through like every day or every time they need help throughout their life, or their sporting career. We also run live Q&A calls, and it's been really amazing to be on the other side. We just had one with Taylor McEwen and like a bunch of athletes and families, and we were able to help them through so many different areas of sport, and it's really powerful. And the results that we're seeing are honestly insane, and it's something that's given me a lot of passion and purpose outside of sport.
I know when I started coaching the first couple of years, it's like you start to figure out a lot of things because you get some very common questions. You get your head around some of those issues that people are dealing with, and some strategies uh, on how people can resolve them and fix them. Is there a couple of those things that come to mind just based on your work in the last couple of months where you feel like, okay, I sort of knew this going into it, but actually now I'm interacting with parents and athletes, and I'm starting to get a really good sense of what those things are.
Yeah, so we just had this girl recently who was from Ireland, and she was a swimmer, and she actually just was battling with COVID and trying to get better after COVID, and she kept getting sick and kept getting like really battling with sickness, and she came to us within like honestly like 5-10 minutes on the Q&A call. She came to us with this problem, and we said, oh, like we instantly broke it down. Like, what's your training program like at the moment? And she started telling me some of the stuff that her coach was doing. And unfortunately, her coach was more coaching her out of where you're not instead of where you're not now, versus how do we build you into a stronger athlete again from being sick. And she had a reoccurring sickness, so she couldn't put in the work, couldn't put in the intensity, and unfortunately, her happiness was really down in sport. And she used to love swimming. And within one call with her, we were able to help get a strategy in place that really projected her back into sport. She's now been in the sport for over a month now, back into swimming. She's now not sick, and she's able to build her intensity and also her volume back in a really healthy manner. And it's honestly amazing, like to see how happy she now is just from that one call. And for us, like we were able to help her instantly on one of our Q&A calls.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's must be nice to just, as you're starting out, like getting those wins on the board, and being able to help those swimmers or athletes of any sport. And yeah, and if you what's the difference between, when you're swimming, you're trying to make the Olympic team, it's it can feel quite selfish, I would imagine, and then this is obviously quite a different approach. So how's that comparison for you?
Oh, I think it's not so much a different approach. I think like the thing for us is like we don't want to see athletes fall, like just get temporary results. And like if you look at age group sport in general, like there's a lot of young athletes that come through and they don't break into that next level. And for me, I was one of them. And so I know it all too well. So like we're really helping parents get on top of their strategy to make sure they got every aspect of sport. And they're also realizing that like the investment and the development the parent puts towards the athlete directly translates their lifelong happiness and their future career. Like you can take the lessons from sport and it will set you up for the rest of your life.
Mm,
And this is the problem. Like we see time and time again athletes falling, young up and coming athletes not knowing what to do, not knowing the exact pathway to take. And it's honestly so powerful. Like if you want to be you're going to be the same person. Like Jim Rohn says it, you're going to be the same as the five people close to you. Like, what would your career look like if you had five of like elite experts in your family's corner? Like, what could your career possibly look like? And that's honestly like that blows my mind. If I would have had that at a young age, like I would love to like I would like to have seen if it would have helped me avoid a lot of wasted time, pain, and energy that I put towards my own career.
mm. When my dad was my coach growing up, and he was a really good coach, and part of that was it was more about developing them as people, not necessarily as a swimmer, and got some great results with swimmers. Some going on to make Olympic teams and so on. But it was more about the people skills that people developed, and just their manners and what they turned into as adults. That I think coming it being a parent to me, I'd be much I'd put so much more on that I want my kids to be good people than them making an Olympic team. It's like that to me as a parent, that would be much more important, or that would be the first thing that I'd want to have in place rather than them achieve great success, but turn out to be terrible people.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think parents want their kids to one succeed and two be happy.
Mm,
And I think like for me, had really high levels of success, but I really struggle with my happiness. And I think for me, like in especially in the last 5 years, to come from drug addiction to like from drug addiction with from sport to then getting back on track and getting to the Olympics, like parents can and people listening can take two things from my story. One is like no one's exempt from issues. Like just because
mm.
I had sport, like I was pursuing sport didn't mean that I wasn't exempt from that. And so one I was able to overcome, but then the other side is like if I can come from the street and drug addiction to the Olympics, and like how much big of a possibility does that open for your up and coming athletes and families to get on top of the exact sporting strategy we used, the exact advice. Like it would honestly blow my mind to start seeing families really break into the elite and having a way more holistic, well-rounded view. It's honestly insane.
And are you going forwards? You've got the online side of it. Are you looking to go out and do talks in person to clubs or groups? Like, what's the plan going forwards?
Yeah, so we do talks and that for clubs and businesses and that kind of stuff. So at the moment, like we're talking a lot, but we have some great clients that we're working with. So we're quite busy, and we do have limited spots available for our course. So I guess like if that leads me to our last thing, like if anyone's interested in our course, like you can literally just DM our Instagram page, and we as Olympians will personally get back to you. And the page is worldwide speaking. That's what our page is called.
Yeah, cool. We'll put that in our show notes and um, tag it on Instagram when we post some
Yeah.
stuff for this podcast. So, um, yeah, that's what are you most excited about looking ahead with the business and a couple of years down the track? Sort of where do you see it?
Oh, I think like we just had another testimonial of a lady come into our program who unfortunately was micromanaging their kid, and it came at a detriment. Like the kid was unmotivated, lost their happiness for the sport. There was constant tension in the family, and she came into our program and went through one of our training videos, which literally helps parents get on top of that. And unfortunately, parents do that unintentionally as well.
Mm.
And she was able to get on top of that. And our program, like our main program, is called the Ultimate Parent Manager. That's our parent program that we have, and that's our parent course. And she was able to get on top with our strategy that we use to get on top of that and how to diagnose it. And now her athlete is more motivated than ever. They've been going to training. She's been going to training more, and personally, like, to hear the mum tell me that she's no longer like watching her daughter and being critical of her is honestly insane. Like, just that one thing is just makes it to me so much more passion. And like hearing her daughter on the Q&A calls, how happy she is and how well she's going in training, and the mum doesn't talk to her about swimming as much. So it's honestly like it's really powerful, some of the results we're seeing.
Man, it can make such a difference. Like, I say it from the parents' point of view too. Like, well, she probably just wanted the best for her kid, and she didn't have another strategy to help her, to try and push her in the right direction. So sometimes it takes strategy or knowing the right thing to do. Like when I was a kid, we would never really talk about swimming. We'd never talk about results at the kitchen table. It was like it was left at the pool, and that was it. And that's why I think I still love swimming today. It's like I was never pushed into it. I was never forced at all, and it was never. I was never chastised for a bad swim or anything like that. It was just like, okay, that's what it is. Bad luck. All right, on to the next one. And I think with I heard this really good. I think it was like a Jordan Peterson video, and it was talking about the little things that you do day to day are actually the most important. So, for example, if your kids aren't eating their dinner and you're fighting them for 2 hours every night trying to get them to eat their dinner or eat their vegetables, good chance you're probably going to be quite unhappy for those couple of hours. The kids won't be enjoying it. So if you can have a different strategy where you can, where they'll eat it or it's a compromise of some sort, if that's a daily thing that's happening, well, that's really going to make a big difference. So it is those, like, those small things, those small habits or small routines that really do start to add up.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think like the first, say, teenage years and junior years of anyone's life is the most important. And so like if you want to get good at something, you want to leverage the people who have been where you want to go. And that's like why people, get into your swimming course and stuff, because like having people involved, one, it makes it effortless. Exactly what you're having the experts involved makes it effortless. It makes it like you can avoid what they've done, and two, you can fast track your own success and well-being in a lifelong. And so really that's why we've gone into the course creation world, and also public speaking as well. And both things we've been having a lot of breakthrough with people. We've been able to help a lot of people so far. And to me, like swimming has now become a vehicle to set me up to be able to do all of this stuff and be able to help so many people. And like, although my career had so many highs and so many lows, and probably more lows than highs, it's really been great to be able to use those lower times to be able to help others and help people not go through what I did and what a lot of other athletes do. So it's really been a great time in my life.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's really exciting too. I was really looking forward to having you on the podcast to talk about this because to see what you've gone through over the last 30 years, and then making the decision to say, okay, well, actually, I haven't got the motivation there to continue on and try and make the Olympic team. But then to turn it around and do what you're doing, it's really exciting. So I wish you all the best going forwards. And I think this stuff is so important for any parent or for any athlete. If you're an athlete listening to this and you're like, I wish mum and dad might, maybe talk to me a little bit differently about my sport and I'd enjoy it more. Well, yeah, maybe you could steer them towards the stuff that you're doing. So, Dan, I really appreciate you being on the podcast, and we'll put all those links in the show notes. And yeah, it's been great catching up.
Thank you. We'll have to maybe try and shoot another freestyle video with 2 years off,
Yeah,
and
this.
see how it goes. See if
Look,
I can hit the 2 year after mark, 1:10 pace 100 effortless swimming for you.
look, I'll drag you to the pool if I have to get another one. It might be the easiest 1:15 pace you've ever seen.
One
But
fifteen pace, yeah.
but I'm sure you
I
haven't
think I think
lost the
when you
technique.
retire, you always feel better than what the clock says. I think that's why I haven't jumped back in the pool too much because I still watch the clock too much.
Yeah, well, do you find it's normally when you take time off, that first 100 actually feels like, wow, this is amazing. And then as soon as that first 100 is done, it drops away. So save it up for this recording, and you might be all right.
Yeah, maybe the next time we'll have to do another freestyle recording for the viewers.
Yeah, yeah, I'll hold you to it. Don't worry. Thanks, mate. It's been great having you on.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.